1 Almond tree information. Almond tree facts. Almond tree wiki. The almond tree is a deciduous tree. It loses its leaves seasonally, with average height of 20 feet, 6 meters. It belongs to the Rosaceae family. The almond tree is one of the oldest nut trees that were cultivated by humans. Almond tree is cultivated mostly in US, Central California, Arizona, Texas, Georgia, and in countries like Spain, Italy, Iran, Syria, Morocco and Australia. During the last 2 decades, California almond production has tripled, making California account for over 80% of world supply. The average almond tree enters maturity period, and hence can produce good yields, from the 8th year of its age. Its life expectancy is estimated at 50 years. The almond tree is cultivated for its fruit, almonds. The sweet almond, kernel, can be eaten plain or be used as ingredient in desserts and confectionaries, sugared almonds, pastries, almond milk. Moreover, bitter almonds are used for producing almond oil, which is widely used in pharmacy, cosmetics and other. The residues from the production of almond oil are poisonous and should not be used as a source for livestock feed. Almond is a stone fruit, drupe, and consists of 3 layers, the outer exocarp, the middle fleshy mesocarp, and the inner endocarp. The edible part of the fruit is the seed, which can be sweet, slightly bitter or bitter. The almond is a valued nutritious commodity with excellent nutritional value. Consuming almonds has been found to lower cholesterol effects, reduce risk of heart attack, boost energy and have positive effect on fertility problems. However, only sweet almonds can be consumed plain or be used in cooking. Bitter almonds contain a substance that can be transformed in another poisonous substance, which may result in life-threatening situations for humans. It is estimated that, on average, a bitter almond contains amygdalin capable of producing 1 mg of hydrocyanic acid, poison. The lethal dose of hydrocyanic acid is about 40 mg for the average adult, about 40 bitter almonds, and about 5 to 10 mg, 5 to 10 bitter almonds, for kids. However, these data may differ significantly according to the variety and distinct characteristics of each bitter almond. Moreover, the lethal doses of poisonous substances have been found to vary significantly even among humans with the same weight, age and physical condition. Consequently, it should not be regarded as safe to eat even 1 bitter almond. 2. How to grow an almond tree from seed. Growing almond trees from seed. As it happens in many fruit trees, citrus, apple, nuts etc., an almond tree grown from seed may not bear fruits for the whole of its lifetime for various reasons. Besides, in order to harvest almonds, we have to plant at the same yard at least 2 different and compatible fruit-bearing varieties, so that the pollen can travel, through honeybees, from one tree to another. But since you want to feel the joy of growing your own tree from seed, let's get started. The first thing we have to do is search for natural fresh harvested almonds. This may be more difficult than it sounds, because nearly all the almonds we can find in the market are roasted, so these seeds will definitely not sprout. In all cases, we need to find seeds that have not been processed in any way. They must be untreated, unroasted, unheated, and unsalted seeds. It is better to find newly harvested shelled almonds. Once we find the natural seeds, we have to select at least 10 of them. All things done correctly, only 50% of the seeds or less will germinate, and only a fraction of those will make it to a small seedling and young tree. First, we soak the shelled almonds in water for 48 to 72 hours. Then, we break carefully the shell and we collect the seeds. Then, we place them upon a wet towel and we put the towel in a plastic bag, see image. The key from now on is to place the bag at the refrigerator for 3 to 4 weeks. About 3 weeks later, some seeds will have normally sprouted. We plant them in individual small pots containing special soil mix, soil with river sand and compost etc. We have to plant the seeds superficially, at a depth of 1-2 inches, 3 centimeters, and cover lightly with soil. Then, we place the pots at a room temperature, close to a wide window, so that the seedlings will have access to plenty of sunlight. The most important thing from now on is to keep the pots moist but not soggy. When the seedlings have reached a height of 6 inches, 15 centimeters, we can transplant them at a bigger container. 3. Growing almond trees for profit. How to start an almond farm. Commercial cultivation of almond trees. The almond tree is often included in lists with the top 5 or 10 most profitable plants to grow. However, these studies may assume optimum climate conditions for almond trees, and these conditions cannot be found anywhere. Consequently, location is maybe the most important parameter when growing almond trees for profit. The tree thrives in certain climate conditions, and deviating significantly from these requirements will cost the grower in terms of production. Secondly, almond trees do not produce a good yield until the 6th or 7th year of orchard establishment, even with high-quality management from experienced growers. A grower has to be patient and of course proactive to carry the costs of the first years without expecting remarkable income. To this, you have to add that the almond tree, as many other fruit trees, has an inherent tendency toward alternate bearing. The tree produces a very good yield in one year and a low if not zero, yield in the following year. This of course creates many problems, as the grower in many cases cannot project the yield of his/her orchard and cannot proceed to timely commercial agreements with merchants. Alternate bearing also results in revenues fluctuations from year to year and hence in deterioration of cash flow projections. Planting, irrigation, fertilization, pollination, pruning and pest control are very important for the quantity and quality of production and represent the majority of costs. Finally, harvesting is a labor-intensive procedure when carried out by hand. In organized almond orchards in US, harvesting is made via big shaking tractors that attach to the trees and shake the branches, so that the fruits can fall to the ground, where they are often left for a couple of days in order to dry out. Then, they are collected and sorted. The average almond tree enters maturity period, and hence can produce good yields, from the 7th year of its age. Its life expectancy is estimated at 50 years. 4 Almond tree climate requirements. Almond tree climate conditions and requirements. In a few words, the almond tree thrives in hot and dry climates, but it also has certain needs in cold, 250 to 350 and in some varieties 500 hours, and that's why it cannot be cultivated in tropical climates. Due to the fact that it blooms very early compared to other fruit trees, during February in US, it can be harmed by frosts during this period, and this is the main limiting factor when growing almond trees. Low winter and spring temperatures and very high summer temperatures inhibit growth and fruit set. During flowering, temperatures below 24.8 F, -4 C, for half an hour and longer can cause serious damage, depending on the variety. On the other hand, very high summer temperatures when accompanied with low soil moisture can result in the shrinkage of almond. The needs of almond in cold, in order to break the dormancy of the buds, are small, about 250 to 350, and in some cases over 500, hours of exposure to temperature less than 45 F or 7 C. This is the reason why the almond tree blooms earlier than most of fruit trees and thrives in areas with mild winters. The long and warm growing season favors the fruit ripening. Frequent rainfalls and cold weather during the flowering deteriorate the cross-pollination activity of bees, resulting in decreased fruit set and production. Moreover, rainfall and humid conditions favor the development of fungal and bacterial diseases, and thus reduce production. The greatest yields are often achieved in irrigated almond orchards that are located in areas with long and hot summer, without many rainfalls. In United States, the perfect climate for growing almond trees can be found in Central California. There are also other suitable areas, some parts of Arizona, Texas and Georgia, but as a rule of thumb, the risk of fungal diseases increases as we move to the east. Outside US, the perfect climate for growing almond trees is the one found in Mediterranean countries, Italy, Spain, Morocco, Greece and Tunisia. However, almond trees are also grown with great success in Syria, Iran and Australia. 5 Almond tree soil requirements and preparation. Almond tree soil conditions, requirements and preparation. Almond tree soil requirements. Like all fruit trees, almond tree prefers full sun and well-drained soil. The almond tree thrives in a wide variety of soils from sandy loam to sandy clay, but generally prefers light, fertile, deep and well-drained soils. Although the almond tree is resistant to drought and can survive for many years in dry soils, the production is significantly reduced under such conditions. Low soil moisture at the end of the growing season is less critical than in the beginning. Heavy or not well-drained soils should be avoided, because they have been found to decrease production and favor the spread of various fungal diseases. Soil pH is normally not a limiting factor, as the tree can grow well in pH ranging from 5 to 8.5. However, most professional almond growers fix soil pH around 6.5 to 8. Ask a licensed agronomist. Almond tree soil preparation. Before planting the young almond trees, the soil has to be plowed at a depth of 20 to 27 inches, 50 to 70 centimeters. Tillage aims at the destruction of perennial weeds and soil fluffing, which is necessary for the development of the root system. Before plowing, almond farmers often take soil samples and send them to laboratory, in order to determine any necessary corrective actions. Many almond farmers add 20 to 30 tons of manure per hectare well before planting the young trees, so as to increase soil fertility and improve soil texture. 1 hectare equal to 47 acres equal 10.000 square meters and 1 ton equal 1,000 kilograms equal 2205 pounds. Keep in mind that if cotton or Solanaceae species, potato, tomato, eggplant, tobacco, have been grown in the ground, then the field must be left fallow for at least 4 years before planting almond trees. The reason is to minimize the risk of verticillium species infection of young trees. Alternatively, a farmer can sow a variety of grasses for a couple of years, or cover the ground with a special plastic black cover. Ask a licensed agronomist. 6. Almond tree propagation. How to propagate almond trees. As it happens in many other popular fruit trees, the almond tree is propagated by budding. Professional almond growers benefit from a tree that is a combination of 2 different plant tissues, the rootstock and the scion. The rootstock is the lower part of the tree and produces the root system. The rootstock may not be an almond tree, as peach rootstocks are often used nowadays. The rootstock's resistance to soil-borne diseases, verticillium wilt, is extremely important. On the other hand, the scion produces the upper part of the tree and of course determines fruit's characteristics. Thus, almond tree is propagated by T-budding over seedlings or clones aged 1 to 2 years. T-budding can be performed from early spring to autumn, but most farmers proceed in this operation during the summer. The rootstocks that are used are peach, almond and some hybrid seedlings. Farmers often use seeds of bitter almonds or various commercial varieties of almond and peach. Peach seedlings are used as rootstocks in well-irrigated intensive commercial orchards. The average almond tree with peach rootstock grows quickly and vigorously at the early age, comes into fruition much earlier and is generally more productive during the first 2 decades than the average tree with almond rootstock. Almond seedlings are used as rootstocks in non-irrigated almond orchards, as they have been found to be more drought-resistant than peach seedlings. 7. Almond trees pollination. How to pollinate almond trees. Most of popular almond varieties are not self-fertile, hence they need cross-pollination in order to set fruits. In order to produce one almond, the almond tree needs theoretically just 1 granule of pollen of another compatible variety at the right time. Honeybee is the only insect that can facilitate the cross-pollination of almond tree. All over the world, almond growers depend greatly on strong and healthy honeybee colonies, which ensure the best possible cross-pollination. The almond grower must ensure that there is a big population of honeybees, 2 to 3 strong colonies per acre or 5 to 7 per hectare, inside the almond orchard, so that a single bee will not only visit different flowers of the same tree, but will also transfer the pollen to other tree of different variety, which is normally located 20 to 30 feet, 6 to 9 meters, away. Consequently, farmers often plant 1 row of trees of the pollinating variety for every 3 rows of the main variety. But when one pollinating variety cannot ensure satisfactory cross-pollination, due to asynchronous flowering, it is recommended to use 2 pollinating varieties, an early flowering and a late flowering variety, so that the flowering of both will overlap with the flowering of the main variety. The almond tree, depending on the variety, blooms from late winter to early spring, during February in US. The duration of flowering depends greatly on the weather conditions and can range from 4 to 30 or more days. The average flowering period is 25 days. It is essential that the almond grower shall facilitate the cross-pollination activity of bees by effectively eliminating all competing blooming weeds during the almond flowering period. Otherwise, bees will be distracted. They will also visit the blooming weeds and hence the cross-pollination of almond trees will be significantly reduced. Frequent rainfalls and cold weather during the flowering generally deteriorate the cross-pollination activity of bees, resulting in decreased fruit set and production. In some cases, if the natural pollination of almond trees is inadequate, commercial almond growers may apply artificial pollination methods. However, nowadays artificial pollination methods have not been found to increase significantly the almond orchard yield. 8. Planting almond trees. Almond trees planting, spacing and number of almond trees per hectare and acre. Planting of young almond trees in the field can take place during winter, before blossoming. Before planting, we have to label the tree positions in the field. In general, almond trees are planted in rectangular or hexagonal patterns. The young almond trees are normally not planted in less than 18 feet, 5 meters, distance between them, especially when the soil is fertile enough. If they are planted in less than 18 feet distances, after a few years, the overcrowding and the mutual shadowing of trees will decrease the quantity and quality of production and will make harvesting and pruning more difficult. However, there are innovative methods suggesting 4x4 feet, 1, 2x1, 2 meters, distances, but with a very short life expectancy of the trees. Typical distances are 20x 20 feet, 6x 6 meters, 23x 23 feet, 7 times 7 meters, and 18x 18 feet, 5x 5 meters. 20x 20 feet distances result in 109 trees per acre, or 270 trees per hectare, while 18x 18 feet distances result in 134 trees per acre or 330 trees per hectare. 1 hectare equal to 47 acres equal 10.000 square meters. Keep in mind that commercial almond growers plant 1 row of trees of the pollinating variety for every 3 rows of the main variety, so as to ensure cross-pollination, which is necessary for the fruit set. This also facilitates the harvesting and sorting of each variety, as they collect and sort each variety of almonds by harvesting the corresponding row. We then have to dig and open the holes. The holes have typically dimensions 5x 5 feet, 45x 45 centimeters, and a depth of 2 feet, 60 centimeters. Keep in mind that the young almond trees are often planted without the nursery's soil ball. The seedlings are often planted at roughly the same depth as they were planted in the nursery, and then we have to put plenty of surface soil to the base of the root system of seedlings. When adding the soil, we have to press it gently, until the complete filling of the pits, so as to avoid causing damage to the young and sensitive root system. Planting is followed by the watering of seedlings. Many almond farmers then add a small amount of manure around the seedling base. They do this in order to prevent the germination of weed seeds and to maintain adequate soil moisture. In some countries, almond growers place a special weed-preventing mat around the base of the newly planted almond tree and they cover its trunk with a special white cover in order to avoid sunburn. Ask a local licensed agronomist. 9. Almond tree pruning. How to prune almond trees. As it happens in most fruit trees, we prune, or train, young almond trees during their first or second year in order to determine their shape, crown skeleton. The shape is very important and can affect production quantity, quality and ease of harvesting or other farming activities. On the other hand, we prune mature almond trees in order to maintain their shape and open up the inner part of the tree, so that aeration and sunlight penetration will be improved. We also prune mature almond trees in order to remove broken, weak or diseased branches, and of course get rid of old wood, water sprouts or suckers. All the previous operations promote fruit production in the long term. The frequency of mature tree pruning ranges from once a year to once every 2 years. The most common shape of almond crown is vase. Vase is consisted of 3 to 4 main branches, which are formed at a height of 28 to 31 inches, 70 to 80 centimeters, above the ground and have 50 to 60 degrees angle with the trunk, so that mechanical harvesting will be facilitated. Each branch has 2 secondary branches. The first is formed at an average distance of 16 inches, 40 centimeters, from the base and the second at a distance of 24 to 31 inches, 60 to 80 centimeters, and at the opposite direction to the first. In general, the tree crown configuration must be completed in the minimum possible time and with minor operations. The almond tree usually comes into light fruition much sooner than other trees do. If the tree crown is properly determined from the beginning, the tree will continue to increase in size and give greater production every year for many years. The almond tree bears fruit in shoots that have a productive life of about 3 to 4 years. Consequently, pruning aims at renewing the fruitful wood and the formation of new fruitful branches to replace those who have ceased to be productive. As a rule of thumb, 20% of the canopy should be pruned back each year in order to allow new wood to grow. Our aim is to have at any time numerous 1-year-old shoots of 14 to 20 inches, 35 to 52 centimeters, as these shoots will normally produce nuts for the next 4 years. Old and weak trees, lacking vigorous vegetation, can usually be strengthened after excessive pruning. However, if the pruning is severe, there will be an increase in growth of water sprouts on the following year. In general, water sprouts should be removed, because they often shade the fruit-bearing parts of the tree, which results in lower production. 10. Almond tree water requirements. Irrigating almond trees. How to irrigate almond trees. Irrigation is one of the most important operations and is critical for the success of an almond orchard. The goal is to help the soil maintain adequate moisture, making it available for the trees at any time during the growing season. However, over-irrigation should be avoided as it often leads to root rot. During the previous decades, a great percentage of almond orchards were non-irrigated. However, farmers quickly found out that the almond tree responds greatly to water supply, 500 to 600 mm, both in terms of vigorous growth and remarkable increase in production. Thus, today most of almond orchards are irrigated. In general, Low soil moisture is highly associated with inhibition of vegetation growth and thus decrease in production. Almond tree has great water needs in early spring, during the summer and sometimes during the first months of autumn. Low soil moisture at the beginning of the growing season is critical and may result in significant decrease in production. Watering the almond trees during or just before harvesting creates several problems. Thus, most farmers stop irrigating the trees about 3 to 4 days prior to the beginning of harvest. However, not irrigating the trees after harvest has been associated with a reduction in the number of blossoms and fruit set of the following year. Consequently, many farmers irrigate lightly their trees immediately after harvest. In large commercial almond orchards in United States, drip irrigation and microjet systems are often used. With these systems, a farmer can monitor the exact soil moisture each day and apply accordingly the efficient fertigation, i.e. injection of fertilizers through the irrigation system. A common drip irrigation system is consisted of 2 laterals per row, whereas the distance between drippers is 2 feet, 60 centimeters. When there is no rainfall, the irrigation frequency ranges from once in 2 days to once in 4 days. Keep in mind that if cover crops are planted in the almond orchard, you may have to increase water supply by 30%, especially during early spring. Read more on almond tree irrigation systems and methods. 11. Almond tree fertilization. Almond tree fertilizer requirements. Contemporary commercial almond farming practices suggest that once a year, on summer July, August, we should collect at least 100 leaves from our almond trees and send them to laboratory for a detailed nutrient analysis. If we detect that the average leaf has some nutrient deficiencies, some important chemical elements are below acceptable standards, then we can discuss with an agronomist on how to intervene and correct the nutrient problems by adding the proper element, for instance a calcium amendment, most often through foliar application. The normal levels of the most important nutrient are listed below. Minimum acceptable leaf levels: N, 2%, K, 1, 2%, Ca, 2, 2%, Mg, 0, 3%. As far as young, 1 to 3 years old, almond trees are concerned, we must be very careful, because if we add fertilizer at a certain spot of the soil without irrigating at the same time, this may cause various problems to the tree. This may also be an issue to some mature trees. Most farmers apply 3 ounce, 150 grams, of N per every young tree during the second and third year after their establishment. As far as mature almond trees are concerned, a common fertilization scheme is adding 8 to 12 pounds, 4 kilograms, of NPK December 12, 17 plus 2 MgO per mature tree, applied 2 times per year, once during late winter, February, and then during late spring early summer, May June. A second almond 3 fertilization scheme involves adding 8 to 12 pounds, 4 kilograms, of NPK December 12, 17 plus 2 MgO per every mature tree during late winter early spring, February March, and the injection of water-soluble fertilizer NPK 15 through the irrigation system during late spring, April-May. A third almond tree fertilization scheme, that can be partially combined with any of the above, involves 3 foliar applications with NPK 20, 1 at the time when the flower petals fall and the other 2 with 10 days intervals. These are just some common practices that should not be followed without making your own research and leaf analysis. The almond tree has great needs in nitrogen. Many farmers add, through spraying or fertigation, in total 2 pounds, 1 kilogram, of nitrogen in every mature tree per year, and this seems to be sufficient. Adding a much greater quantity than that has been reported to result in the rapid growth of water sprouts. As a result, yield is reduced as the water sprouts often shade the fruit-bearing parts of the branches. Potassium is the second most important macronutrient. If a potassium deficiency is detected after leaf analysis, almond growers often add 15 to 20 pounds, 8 to 9 kilograms, of potassium sulfate, K2SO4, in every mature tree. Alternatively, correction of severe potassium deficiencies can be managed through foliar spraying with potassium nitrate, 1 pounds of potassium nitrate in 100 pounds water, sprayed at least 5 times per month during spring. Ask a licensed agronomist. Excellent fertilization of almond tree can be managed by adding manure. Many farmers add 10 to 20 tons of manure per hectare every 1 or 2 years. 1 hectare equal to 47 acres equal 10.000 square meters and 1 ton equal 1,000 kilograms equal 2205 pounds. When they cannot find manure at a reasonable price, many farmers apply green manure, mainly Vicia faba or Vicia sativa. In this case, almond growers sow legumes in the autumn. During the next few months, they add phosphorus and potassium to the field in order to help legumes grow quickly. They finally plow the plants, incorporating them into the soil just before their flowering, spring, April, May. Keep in mind that during the decomposition of organic matter, there is increased nitrogen consumption. Consequently, many farmers add, at the time of plowing, nitrogen, in nitrate form, to the soil so as to avoid any nitrogen deficiency. Ask a licensed agronomist. However, these are just common practices that should not be followed without making your own research. Every field is different and has different needs. Checking the soil nutrients and pH is vital before applying any fertilization method. Leaf analysis is very important in order to diagnose and correct nutrient deficiencies in almond tree, always after consulting an agronomist. 12 Almond tree harvest and yields. Harvesting almond trees. Almond tree yield. Almonds ripening. Almond starts to ripen when its hull begins to split. In United States, the harvest usually begins in late summer, August, and continues until autumn, October, depending on the variety. Almond growers start harvesting almonds when about 75% of hulls have split. In most countries, farmers harvest almonds by hand. They use special equipment and shake the branches so that almonds can fall in special collection nets that have been put in the ground. However, in large commercial orchard of United States, big vibrator machines attach to the almond trunk and shake it violently, so that hundreds of almonds can fall in the ground. In areas with no risk of rainfall, the almonds are left in the ground for some days, so that they can dry out. The moisture content of dried almonds shall be less than 6%. Then, a special machine picks the almonds from the ground and makes a necessary first stage sorting. Broken stems and leaves are removed. In many countries, almonds that have properly dried out are then put in the fridge for a couple of days, so that any potential worms will be killed. In other cases, the fruits are put in special machines, where the hull and even the shell are removed. The average healthy and mature almond tree can produce 50 to 65 pounds, 23 to 30 kilograms, of nuts. A good yield of a mature commercial orchard run by professional almond growers is about 4,500 pounds, 40 kilograms, of shelled nuts per hectare. 1 hectare equal to 47 acres equal 10.000 square meters and 1 ton equal 1,000 kilograms equal 2205 pounds. However, keep in mind that there can be significant deviations from these numbers. 13 Almond tree pests and diseases. Unfortunately, almond tree can suffer from various fungal and bacterial diseases and various pests. Verticillium wilt. It is a soil-borne fungal disease that enters the almond tree through the root system and can finally kill the tree. After some years, it actually blocks the water and nutrients that are supposed to be transferred from the roots to the upper parts of the trees, resulting in the collapse of whole branches. It is created from the pathogen Verticillium dallii. Verticillium wilt has created huge economic loss in the nut orchards of California Valley. Unfortunately, the pathogen can live in the soil for many years, without any plant host. The first precaution against Verticillium wilt would be to keep a field fallow for 4 years, if cotton or Solanaceae species, tomato, potato, tobacco, were cultivated in this field. Alternatively, a farmer can sow a variety of grasses for a couple of years or cover the ground with a special plastic cover. Ask a licensed agronomist. The second precaution against verticillium is to select a rootstock that is resistant to this disease. Over-irrigation and the presence of certain weeds favor the rapid spread of the disease. Crown gall. It is a bacterial disease caused by the pathogen Agrobacterium tumefaciens, which enters most often the young almond tree through wounds. The pathogen's activity results in the creation of various galls, which can finally block the water and nutrients that are supposed to be transferred from the roots to the upper parts of the tree. Infected trees develop leaves of smaller size and become weak and unproductive. Mites of various types and sizes can attack water-stressed almond trees and reside in the underside of leaves. The most common symptom is that the color of the leaves turn yellow or bronze and the leaves often drop. The production is significantly reduced. Almond kernel shriver, anthracnose and alternaria leaf spot are also common almond tree diseases. Read more on almond tree diseases. 14 QNAS almond tree. Are almond trees deciduous? Yes. Almond trees drop their leaves seasonally. Why are almond trees planted at an angle? Almond growers often plant their trees so that they have an angle of 8 to 14 degrees into the prevailing wind. This technique is believed to protect trees from fungal or root rots. However, if there is a strong wind having the opposite than normal direction, it can diminish a part of the almond orchard. Read a related story. How tall do almond trees grow? 15 to 30 feet. Can you grow an almond tree from an almond? Of course. However, as it happens in most fruit trees, citrus, apple, olive, nuts, a tree grown from seed will get into fruition much later than a tree that is a combination of a carefully selected rootstock and a scion. A tree grown from seed may not produce fruits for the whole of its lifetime for various reasons. However, you can feel the joy of growing your own tree from seed by reading our guide. Are peaches and almonds related? Of course. Both peach and almond belong to the family Rosaceae. They even belong to the genus Prunus and the subgenus Amygdalus.